I am really impressed by this Boston Celtics win, especially the defense and Derrick White, plus Luke Kornet with the poster jam. We'll show it to you right now on the Locked On Celtics podcast.
Yup. Beantown, be ever ready. Recognize the city of champs. Back to back, if I say it, it's stamp. Locked on number 19, the best one, the next one. Juice loose in your pool now for the next run. It's the C's, who else could it be? What they gon' say now? Screaming like JT, Karalis, recap the madness. Every game, every practice. Best daily pod, no cap like Brad Beckett. Clutch like Jrue to KP, tap in daily. Primetime dapping D White on the sideline. Raining J's, how it started, raising banners, how we finish. Locked on Celtics pod, home of the winners.
Hey there, welcome back to the Locked On Celtics podcast, right here on the Locked On Podcast Network. It's your team every day. Your team is the Boston Celtics, and I've got them covered whenever they play a game. This is a bonus podcast, late Friday night. You're waking up on Saturday morning. You don't normally get a Saturday podcast, but now you do, because the Celtics beat the Houston Rockets in a very impressive win. Make sure you're subscribed so you can get all of these podcasts directly to your device. Watch the show on YouTube, get into the comment section. Let me know what you're thinking about this big-time win. I am John Karalis. If you're new to the show, I've been covering the Boston Celtics for almost 20 years now. I've written a couple of books about the team. I know as much about the Celtics as just about anybody. So thank you for choosing my podcast here on the Locked On Podcast Network. I'm working right now for the Boston Sports Journal. I should mention that. Read my stuff on Boston Sports Journal, and I hope you go do that because I like to write words as well as speaking words. Today, I'm speaking words about the Boston Celtics getting a 23-point win over the Houston Rockets, where later on we'll talk about some individual players, Jrue Holiday, Derrick White, Luke Kornet, all of that. I just want to start with super impressed by this win. You heard me talking about it with Tom Westerholm. If you're an everydayer, if you're making this your first listen every day, you heard me say it a couple days ago. Not having high hopes for this. Now, granted, the Rockets were also shorthanded. No Amen Thompson. He was suspended for throwing Tyler Hero to the floor. Which, look, Boston Celtics fans, what perfect best case scenario there. Tyler Hero gets thrown around like a rag doll, and Amen Thompson gets suspended. So something Celtics fans can get behind. Jabari Smith broke his hand in shoot-around. Tari Eason was out. So a shorthanded Rockets team that started Jeff Green. So, I mean, look, we all love Uncle Jeff, but he shouldn't be starting NBA games at this point. Celtics still without Jaylen Brown, but they did get Kristaps Porzingis back. I think coming off the back-to-back that, it's a long flight from Minneapolis down to Houston. And it's an easy kind of excuse, right? Considering the Celtics, the way they've been performing in December, it almost felt like they're back to being a little prone to, oh yeah, sure, we'll take that excuse. We'll take this, you're shorthanded, well, we'll just relax. They didn't do any of that stuff. They didn't give in to any fatigue or anything like that. They played great basketball for most of this game. First quarter was a little tough. They still end up, winning that quarter by 6, but the Rockets came out and played some tough bully ball. Alperen Sengun was giving Kristaps Porzingis problems. He was physical and got a couple of fouls early. Steven Adams came in, crushing them on the offensive boards. He had 4 offensive rebounds in the game, 3 of them in the first quarter. And it just felt like, okay, this is going to be a back and forth, like it's going to be a battle. But I really was impressed by the Celtics not giving into the Rockets being shorthanded or not giving into the fatigue, and it was a tough win there in Minnesota. They played great. They played focused, and they played great defense. I cannot say enough about what the Celtics defense has been, especially because I've been very, very critical of what their effort has been in December. And I actually pulled some numbers for my piece on Boston Sports Journal. I wrote about the Celtics defense on BSJ, and we talked about the deflection stats. If you were here with me on the last podcast with Tom Westerholm, I talked about deflections. The Celtics average about 13 deflections a game. In this, they had a 2-4 stretch there in December where it dropped to 11.7. So a minimal drop, but less than usual, right? Over the last 3 games, so that counts the that last win at home against Toronto, the win in Minnesota, and this win in Houston, 17.3 deflections. So 4 more than what they're usually getting. And that's a lot per game. That 4 more deflections defensively, that's a really good number. The effort is there defensively. That wasn't there when I've been talking about it over, like last week's podcasts. There's a lot of talk about, okay, what's wrong with the defense, and me talking about the effort and all of that. The effort has been great these last few games. Celtics are super active. It shows up in those deflection numbers. Over these last 3 games, the Celtics defensive rating is 100.7. They are allowing 100.7 points per 100 possessions. That's best in the NBA. Small sample, obviously small sample, but indicative of where they are. It's not about where they are in the league, but it is the best in the league over the past 3 games by 2 full points. It's more about in that 2 win and 4 loss stretch in at the end of December, their defensive rating was 108.5. So they are basically 8 points better these last few games. And you're going against teams that have the ability to score. Against the Rockets here, that first quarter was a little tough, and then they completely recovered. After allowing 8 points to Alperen Şengün in the first quarter, 6 points in the second quarter, nothing in the second half. He didn't score at all in the second half. Like I said with Steven Adams, 3 offensive rebounds in the first quarter, 1 the rest of the way. They allowed 6 offensive rebounds in the first quarter, 8 the rest of the way. So big adjustment from the Celtics after that tough start, and they figured it out. They got great contributions off the bench, but defensively they made adjustments. They did all of the things you're supposed to do to play great defense. They made an adjustment in the second half. They started Luke Kornet, and this is part of why Şengün did not score in the second half. Kornet starts on Şengün. They have Kristaps Porzingis kind of roaming. Şengün gets the ball. They double him. They blitz him. They send late help. They just show him different looks, and he has to either turns the ball over, misses a shot, or has to give the ball up. And when they're shorthanded, Şengün is the focal point of their offense a lot of times anyway, but shorthanded, he was a bigger focus of their offense, and the Celtics kind of cut that off. Well, I shouldn't even say kind of. They completely cut that off in the second half. He didn't score at all. He only took 4 shots in the second half. And the Celtics really weren't worried about his passing at all. 0 assists. It's not like he facilitated anything. 0 for 4. He took a 3-pointer, which was at the end of the shot clock. He didn't get an offensive rebound. He had 1 rebound. He got no assists. He was a nothing offensively. And that showed up in the Rockets scoring 16 points in the third quarter and 14 points in the fourth. Boston won the third quarter 17-16, big defensive battle. Then they whipped off an 11-0 run to start the fourth quarter. They won the fourth quarter 27-14. They won it going away. Just a really great adjustment. Defense is about scheme. It's about communication. It's about effort. The Celtics got all three. They adjusted. They made an in-game adjustment. We saw it. We saw communication throughout the entire first half. Throughout the entire game. And we saw the adjustment from the first half to the second. We saw the effort all the way through and a great defensive game. This is the Celtics defense that we should be looking for. And even after the game, Joe Mazzulla said it perfectly. And this says a lot. In fact, I'll read you the quote when I come back. Today's show is brought to you by FanDuel. The NFL playoffs are almost here, but it's not too late to get in on the regular season action with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Right now, new customers, that's you. You can finish up the season strong with $250 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. FanDuel has a ton of ways for you to pick up that W, whether you want to bet on over-unders or scores, who's going to score a touchdown, who's going to score the most points in a quarter, all of that stuff. It's a way for you to have some fun, get some skin in the game, and enjoy basketball, football, whatever, in a different way. Use the tools that they have so you don't go overboard, right? And I know how this goes, and this can be a lot of fun. Whatever your disposable income is, that's your budget. Set your budget, set your limit. They have the tools to help you do that. Nobody wants you to go overboard. Have some fun gambling responsibly at FanDuel. Visit FanDuel.com to join today. FanDuel.com gives you the chance to win at $250 in bonus bets if that first $5 bet wins. Make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. Thanks for listening to Locked On Celtics. You're going to see two podcasts. I still see people being confused here. I hope that people understand. There's two podcasts on the audio feed after a game. Postcast with Steve Lennox. He starts live video on Locked On Sports Boston YouTube page. After he's done, that audio is on this feed. Then after going through all the post-game stuff with a little bit more in-depth podcast, we'll put my audio here as well as the video on the Locked On Celtics feed. So two podcasts. You get an immediate post-game reaction from Steve Lennox. Then you get a reaction later from me that goes a little bit deeper after having time to really analyze the game. So you get both here on the Locked On Celtics podcast. So Joe Mazzulla's quote, and I think this says so much. He said, the ball pressure from the guards, playing double big, having great rim protection, defending without fouling. That's the standard defensively that we all know, and it was good to see the guys do it. That quote says everything. Forget about all of the expected points and blah, blah, blah stats that he throws out when he's covering for his team, when we all know that they're not playing defense or not playing it up to their standard. This sentence, that's the standard defensively that we all know, and it was good to see the guys do it. That tells you everything. That's the expectation. And also, good to see the guys do it means sometimes they just don't do it. And you can coach as much as you want to coach and be whatever kind of coach you want to be. The guys have to do it. And that's why so much of what I talk about is about the players, because at the NBA level, it's all about whether they want to do it or not. And the best coaches get the players, connect with the players, and get them to do it more often than not. But if a player, and sometimes it's just one or two guys that decide, not tonight. And then the rest of the team goes, oh, he's not doing that? Well, I'm not doing it if he's not doing it. And that's kind of how it devolves. So Mazzulla, very careful with his public comments. That sentence, I don't think he crafted it before he went out there, but that is intentional. That's the standard defensively that we all know. And it was good to see the guys do it. Joe's not going to be Michael Malone. I've said that a million times, but he will occasionally toss these little things. He's great at the little subtle messages, and that's one of them. And it was. He's 100% right. This was the standard. This is what we expect. Luke Kornet was really, really good in this game. The defense on Şengün, point of attack defense on Şengün was good. The fourth quarter where the Celtics pulled away, Luke had a ton of offensive rebounds, tip outs, keeping the ball alive, really giving the Rockets a taste of their own medicine. One of the things the Celtics really did defensively, it showed that they did not fear Houston getting hot from three. They didn't fear anybody beating them from three. They knew that the big threat was Şengün when they're shorthanded and offensive rebounds, second chance points. When you cleaned both of those things up and didn't worry about who was hitting three-pointers, they pulled away. So Luke Kornet was a real big part of that. So give Luke a ton of credit. Also, Luke had an incredible poster. Now, this is a YouTube exclusive. So those of you listening on the audio, I apologize profusely. The next 30 seconds or so is strictly YouTube. Go to the YouTube page so you can see the photo. Or if you want to go to my Twitter, open up my Twitter. I did tweet this picture out. You can watch that with your audio. Don't do it if you're driving. Don't pick up your phone if you're driving. But whenever you get to where you're going. Okay, so here's the picture. I got to maneuver there we go. I had to put this photo up on the YouTube page here because, and this is courtesy of Imagine Images, this is a legitimate poster. We don't have posters anymore. I remember when I was a kid, like my mom would take me and my sister, we'd go to like Caldor in Rhode Island. People, if you're old enough to remember Caldor, I have a shirt. I'll wear it every once in a while on the show. An old department store. And like my mom would go in and I'd be like, I'm going to the sports section. I'm going to look at the posters. And I would flip through the big basketball posters. And I would always pick one out that I wanted. This is a legitimate, if there were posters that people still hung on their walls, this is a legitimate poster. What a photo of Luke Kornet dunking on Alperen Şengün. Love it. So I had to do it because Luke doesn't really get a lot of that, a lot of those opportunities. That if I'm a member of the Boston Celtics, somebody on that team, front office, coaching staff, somebody has to get that picture blown up poster size and either give it to him as a gift or hang it in his locker because that's a great photo. So shout out to Luke Kornet for that performance. He was pivotal in this. The most pivotal player though was Derrick White, who 23 points, 8 of 16 shooting, 6 of 12 from 3, 50% across the board. Couple of assists, a block shot, an incredible block shot, another incredible block shot for him, and another charge drawn. We haven't seen him take charges a lot, and he's been doing it all of a sudden the past couple of games. It's like 3. Derrick White, third quarter, he had a stretch where the Celtics, it was still a 7-point game, and all of a sudden they doubled it, more than doubled it, because it got up to 15. D. White, the block shot, passing, scoring, 3-point shooting, floaters. Derrick White is back. Derrick White is back. This was the perfect Derrick White game. 23 points, a team high 23 points, a team best 27 plus 27 in this game. Hitting 3-pointers, just clutch 3-pointers, timely shots. This was Derrick White at his absolute best. I don't know what was going on with him over that stretch in December. I've said it on the podcast before. There was a practice in that NBA Cup break that they had. There was a practice where I saw him shooting and missing, and he looked a little extra frustrated. And I just remember specifically thinking to myself, damn, he's like extra frustrated. I've never seen him like this before. And so it's not a surprise that he kind of carried that through a couple of weeks. Something, and I'm not prying, I'm not suggesting anything whatever. I don't know what it was, but something I'm just from what I've seen, something mentally, it feels like was impeding Derrick White's production. I don't know what it was. I've never asked him. I'm just guessing, but I have a pretty good grasp on who these guys are. And I know D White is generally a pretty happy-go-lucky guy. Whatever the past few weeks have been, this Derrick White is much better than all of that other stuff. So hopefully it's nothing serious. Hopefully he's just in a mental funk or whatever. But yeah, this Derrick White this is the Derrick White. And between him and Jrue Holiday, who I'll talk about next, when those two guys got it going, man, Celtics are impossible to beat. Jaylen Brown, no Jaylen Brown. Porzingis hurt, yes, no. Derrick White, Jrue Holiday together playing the way they played, Celtics are just a different team. Talk about that and the rest of the individual performances when I come back. Today's show brought to you by Game Time. We all love going to live events, don't we? Everybody, we're doing a Celtics podcast. Who doesn't want to go to basketball games? I love going to basketball games, but also concerts. Concerts are fun. Theater, comedy shows. You can do it all over that at Game Time on the Game Time app. They've made it even easier to get tickets for your favorite events. With their new feature, Game Time Picks, this feature filters out the fluff to show you only incredible deals on great seats, so you don't have to waste your time searching through thousands of tickets. You can go to Game Time, use that Game Time Picks feature. My wife used it to go to the final Patriots game of the season. Full disclosure, my stepson is a Buffalo Bills fan, and so he is probably going to have a great time at that. So great job picking that game. Game Time Picks really gets you amazing deals. The Super Deal is a particularly impressive feature. It gives you great seats and unbeatable prices. Plus, the app's all-in pricing shows you the total cost up front with no surprise fees at checkout. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account. Use the code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem the code LOCKEDONNBA, LOCKED, LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? Game Time. Thank you for making Locked On Celtics your first listen every day. Hey, subscribe to the brand new Locked On Celtics Ultimate newsletter, the ultimate team newsletter here on the Locked On Daily. Go to LockedOnDaily.com. Click on that Locked On Celtics logo. It's the Locked On Celtics newsletter. You get Celtics, NBA, and fantasy coverage every day, Monday through Friday, in your inbox. LockedOnDaily.com. Jrue Holiday was really good to start the game. He set the tone, 12 points in the first quarter. Only 2 the rest of the way, but that first quarter was so good. But it's not like he didn't do stuff the rest of the way. He was a plus 16 for the game. Defensively, just typical menace Jrue Holiday stuff. Joe Mazzulla highlighted and Brian Scalabrine highlighted during the game. Third quarter, I think it was, Alperen Şengün traveled because he was going to go up for a shot and he saw a teammate, but Holiday's just full dead-on sprint took away that passing lane and Şengün ended up traveling. So Holiday was super active, obviously super aggressive to start the game. but he had a block, he had a steal, he had 3 assists, 4 rebounds, just doing a lot. The Holiday Derrick White combination, when they can give you, what is this, 37 points combined on 13 of 25 shooting. I mean, that's great. And then 8 of 17 from 3. Perfect. That is exactly it. Now fold in Peyton Pritchard. The guard play was off the charts. Pritchard, 8 of 10, 4 of 6 from 3. 3-level scoring from Pritchard. Getting into the rim, crazy reverse finish. Getting into the mid-range, finishing there. Obviously bombing away from 3 and hitting some big shots there. Pritchard, Holiday, Derrick White. That was everything the Celtics needed. Oh, by the way, they have Jayson Tatum. Oh, by the way, I'm 26 minutes into the podcast, and now I'm going to talk about Jayson Tatum. 20 points, 7 of 19 shooting, 4 of 10 from 3. So decent night from 3. 40% is better than decent. 6 rebounds, 5 assists, a steal. His big contribution was in the first quarter when the Rockets got hot and it was a 1-point game. No, it was the second quarter. But regardless, Tatum scored 10 of 12 points for Boston and gave the Celtics a 9-point lead heading into the half. So that was Tatum's big early contribution. That was half his points right there. But Tatum doing a bit of everything. Again, I thought there were a couple of possessions where he defended the rim, and he didn't even have a block on the official box score, which surprises me. I thought he had at least a block or 2, but he defended well. I thought he was a big part of the Celtics playing great defense in the second half. He did a great job. So all in all, I think the Celtics are kind of back on track. They got great individual performances. They got great team performance. Kristaps Porzingis was back. Not much there as far as numbers go, but his defense in the second half was really good. He hit a couple of threes, though, 2 of 3 from 3. That was important. A couple of assists, a couple of block shots. So he's still working his way back. It's going to be an interesting kind of progression for him. I think he looks pretty good. I thought I didn't see any lingering ankle stuff. So that's good. After the game, he said like he's still not in shape because every time he starts to get into shape, something weird happens. Either they have a week off or he gets hurt or something like that. So still not seeing the full Kristaps Porzingis, but Celtics, this was impressive. I'm not going to go and pile on like, oh, this is another best win of the season, but it's a really good win. Rockets were shorthanded, but they're still playing well. And on the back-to-back, I didn't expect it to be a 23-point win. If the Celtics had won this by 3, it would have made more sense to me. If they'd won it by 13, I'd be like, oh, that was pretty good. Winning it by 23, the way they won it, very impressed. And makes me think like the more they play like this, the more it makes me think, okay, those few weeks in December were more an aberration than an indication of something. Next game, Sunday afternoon, OKC. That's going to be a tough one. OKC was down to New York, and they came back and won. So they're on a 14-game winning streak. Again, my joke is they're so good that they can lose a game in the middle of all of this and still have a 14-game winning streak. But people just don't count. It's funny. The NBA Cup is such a big deal, but they don't count that loss. Celtics Thunder Sunday is going to be really interesting. Should be a good one. I will be here afterwards to talk about it. So make sure you're subscribed wherever you get your podcasts. Watch the show on YouTube. Get into that comment section. Have some fun with your fellow Celtics fans. And then share the podcast. Tell everybody they should be listening to and watching the Locked On Celtics podcast here on the Locked On Podcast Network. It's your team every day.